two Barndominiums. Same footprint, same floor plan, same budget on paper. But one of these roofs could cost you 30% more before you even hang a single cabinet, and in certain states, one of them can actually work against you when your insurance agent runs the numbers. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which roof saves you real money, which one quietly adds thousands in hidden costs, which one your insurer might penalize you for, and which one is actually the smarter build for your climate, not just the prettier one on Pinterest. Before we get into the numbers, if you're the kind of person who actually wants the real math behind a build instead of just the pretty renderings, hit subscribe. You're gonna want the rest of this channel too. And drop a comment right now. Are you Team Gambrel for that classic barn look and extra loft space, or Team Single Slope for that clean modern line and the lower price tag? I'll be reading through the comments, so let me know where you land. Two roofs, two philosophies. Let's start simple, because a lot of Barndo shoppers get these two mixed up. A Gambrel roof is the classic barn shape, two slopes on each side. A steep lower pitch and a shallower upper pitch, meeting in the middle like an upside-down V with a kink in it. It's the shape most people picture the second you say the word Barndominium. And honestly, it's the shape that made the whole Barndo movement recognizable in the first place. A single slope roof, also called a shed roof or a skill-ion roof, is the opposite of complicated. One flat plane, tilted at an angle, running from a high wall down to a low wall. No peak, no ridge, no symmetry. For most of construction history, that shape was reserved for garden sheds, lean-tos, and outbuildings. Nobody was putting it on the cover of a home magazine. But that's changed fast. Buyers chasing a cleaner, more contemporary look and actively trying to move away from the traditional farmhouse aesthetic have turned the single slope into a legitimately popular Barndo style in its own right. So this isn't old classic versus cheap afterthought anymore. It's a real fight between two established styles, and that's exactly why the money question is worth settling once and for all. The Gambrel number. Let's talk real numbers, because this is where most videos get vague and this one won't. Installed Gambrel roofs are running somewhere between $8 and $16 per square foot in 2026, once you count both framing and roofing materials together. Stretch that across a typical 2,000 square foot home, and you're looking at a roof that alone can run anywhere from roughly $12,000 to $32,000, depending on materials and region. Either way you slice it, that's solidly five-figure money before the rest of the house even enters the conversation. Why Gambrels cost more? Here's the part nobody explains well. That price isn't random. A Gambrel is essentially two roofs stacked on top of each other, and building it takes noticeably more lumber and noticeably more skilled labor than a simple slope. So yes, it costs more, but it's not costing you more for nothing. You're buying square footage along with the shape, and in a minute we'll put an actual number on exactly how much space that buys you. The single slope number. Now flip to the single slope side, and the math looks completely different. Because there's no double pitch, no transition point where an upper slope meets a lower slope, and far fewer seams and angle changes, a single slope roof is fundamentally a simpler structure to build. For comparison, metal roofing in general, the material most Barndos actually use, runs somewhere in a similar $7 to $18 per square foot range nationally. But on a single, uncomplicated plane, most single-slope Barndo projects land at the lower end of that range instead of the upper end, simply because there's less complexity for a crew to price into their labor bid. Why single slope wins on simplicity? There's a reason single slope Barndos are having a moment with buyers who watch every dollar. A simple single plane roof is quick to frame, and these buildings are increasingly sold as prefab kits, where the bulk of the structure gets built in a factory before it ever reaches your land. Fewer seams also means fewer places for water to find its way in, which matters just as much for your wallet 10 years from now as it does on move-in day. And if you go the prefab route, the savings compound even further. We'll get to the exact number on that in a bit, and it might be the single biggest surprise in this whole video. It's not just which shape, it's how steep. Here's the twist that changes everything, and it applies to both roof types. The steeper you go, the more your bill explodes, regardless of which style you pick. Going from a low pitch to roughly double that pitch can meaningfully increase the total roof surface area for the exact same building footprint. That's not just more material, that's a crew working at height, moving slower, needing more safety gear. A genuinely steep roof can run 30% or more than an equivalent low-slope roof. The Gambrel's built-in trap. This is exactly why Gambrels quietly cost what they cost. A classic barn-style Gambrel typically pairs a steep lower slope, often 60 degrees or steeper, with a much shallower upper slope near the ridge. You are, structurally speaking, paying for a steep roof and a shallow roof stacked together, which is a big part of why the price sits higher than almost anything else on the market. And that transition point where the two slopes meet, builders call it the knuckle, isn't just a cost driver. It's also, as we'll see in a few minutes, a genuine structural weak point. Where single slope has an advantage and a catch, a single slope roof gives you the freedom to pick a gentle, budget-friendly pitch without taking on a Gambrel's second roof complexity. And this is the part that surprises a lot of first-time builders: go too shallow and you run straight into drainage trouble, with rain and snow sitting on the roof instead of running off it. So the real savings on a single slope roof come from picking a moderate pitch, not the flattest one you can get away with. The Gambrel's secret weapon: free square footage. Here's where the story gets interesting, because a lower price tag doesn't automatically mean a better deal. The entire reason people fall in love with Gambrel roofs isn't the barn look, it's the space hiding inside that shape. Builders regularly point to somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50% more usable attic space compared to a standard gabled roof of the same footprint. That steep lower slope creates enough vertical rise for a genuine second floor, a loft bedroom, or a soaring great room, without adding the cost of a full additional story. There's a centuries-old reason this works so well too. A Gambrel simply encloses more interior volume for every board foot of lumber you put into it than most alternative roof shapes. The Gambrel's renovation advantage, and here's a detail almost nobody mentions. If you might want to finish out that attic later, turn storage into a real bedroom down the line, a Gambrel makes that renovation dramatically easier than most other shapes, since the steep walls already give you usable height almost to the perimeter. That's a 5 years from now benefit that almost never shows up in a builder's initial quote. What single slope gives you instead: a single slope roof doesn't hide a bonus floor up top. What it hides is savings that show up in your monthly bill instead of your square footage. A properly pitched slope also tends to make insulation and airflow more straightforward to design around, which translates into less heat loss in winter and easier cooling in summer. If your goal is a lean, efficient, low-maintenance footprint rather than a dramatic loft, the math tilts firmly in the single slope's favor. So which one is actually worth it? This is the honest answer nobody wants to give you on a thumbnail. It depends on what you're solving for. If you need extra bedrooms or storage and you're willing to pay more upfront to get it built into the roofline instead of the foundation, the Gambrel is arguably cheaper than an equivalent second story built the traditional way. If you don't need that extra volume, paying Gambrel prices for space you'll never use is money down the drain. How wind actually attacks a roof before comparing how each roof handles a storm. Here's what a storm is actually doing to it, because it's not simply pushing down. Wind moving over an angled roof behaves like air over an airplane wing. It creates low pressure above the roof while wind hitting the wall below creates high pressure underneath. In a bad enough event, that pressure difference can genuinely try to lift the roof off the house. This is the reason roof shape matters so much more than most buyers assume. The Gambrel's weak point: for Gambrels, that weak point is exactly where you'd guess, the knuckle. The steep lower slope catches significant wind uplift, and the break point between the two pitches is a genuine structural stress point under sustained loading. This shows up in real building codes. Florida's statewide wind mitigation credit system scores roofs by geometry, and hip roofs consistently score highest, meaning Gambrels, which share the flat gable-style ends that hip roofs are specifically designed to eliminate, don't earn that same credit. Building a Gambrel to full hurricane zone standards typically means extra hurricane straps, a sealed roof deck, reinforced trusses, and a formal engineering review cost that doesn't necessarily unlock any insurance discount in return. In some regions, you can pay more to build a Gambrel and still get less credit for it. The single slope's hidden vulnerability: you'd think the simplest shape would automatically be the safest one, but wind engineers actually flag the single slope for a different reason entirely. Unless a home happens to be perfectly oriented away from the prevailing wind direction, which is rarely the case on a real piece of land, a single slope roof will always have one exposed high edge pointing into the worst possible wind direction at some point. That tall wall everyone loves for its big windows is precisely the surface a strong crosswind can catch and try to peel back. It's a straightforward read on the physics, not one single ranking system. Hip roofs are the most wind-resistant shape overall because they have no flat face at all. Gambrels and gables sit in the middle since neither fully escapes a flat vertical surface, and single slope roofs need real attention, specifically at that one exposed high edge. For a single slope build in a high wind region, that often means specifying serious hardware, mechanically seamed metal panels, and a thicker steel gauge. rather than the cheaper snap-together seam system that can work itself loose under repeated gusting. The sweet spot pitch nobody mentions, so what's the actual ideal pitch if wind is your biggest concern? Regardless of which shape you choose? For hurricane-prone regions, wind engineering research most notably work out of the New Jersey Institute of Technology points to something close to a 30-degree slope as the sweet spot, roughly a 7/12 pitch, steep enough to shed wind efficiently, but not so steep that it creates excess resistance for the wind to push against. And you don't want to overcorrect toward flat either, because a roof that's too shallow can lift at the edges and let rain pool instead of draining, which causes its own water damage over time. That one number right around 30 degrees is worth writing down if you're building anywhere near hurricane country, no matter which roof style you end up choosing. Gambrel in the snowbelt flipped the climate from hurricane coast to snow country, and the calculation changes completely. That steep lower slope on a gambrel sheds rain beautifully, but the shallow upper slope tells a different story. Snow simply doesn't slide off a gentle upper pitch nearly as easily as it does off a steeper gable. That flatter section needs genuinely robust trusses if you're building anywhere that gets real winters, which is exactly why a structural review before construction matters so much in cold climates. Single slope in the snowbelt. A well-pitched single slope roof, on the other hand, is refreshingly straightforward in a storm. One continuous plane means snow and rain have one clear, uninterrupted path off the building, with no valley or transition point where debris and ice can collect. That's a real, quantifiable safety advantage in snow country, as long as the pitch is steep enough to actually shed the load in the first place rather than let it accumulate. The regional truth bomb. Here's the part that ties this whole section together. There is no universally correct roof. Builders in Texas and Oklahoma routinely go with a low, gently sloped roofline that fits the flat landscape and keeps costs down. Head up to the Midwest or Northeast, and the traditional barn look demands something much steeper, often approaching a near vertical pitch on the main roof to properly shed heavy snow. Your climate should be deciding your roof style just as much as your budget or your aesthetic taste, arguably more. Gambrel, the case for. So let's score this fairly. Gambrel wins on interior space, wins on that iconic barn aesthetic, wins on rain shedding thanks to that steep lower pitch, and wins on future flexibility if you ever want to finish out that attic. It's the roof that turns a simple footprint into a home with a genuine upstairs. Gambrel, the case against, but it loses on upfront cost, loses on framing complexity, needs extra engineering attention on that shallow top slope in snow-heavy regions, and in hurricane-prone states it can cost you more to build up to code without earning you a discount in return. It's also, simply put, more building, more lumber, more labor hours, more joints where a leak could eventually start. Single slope. The case for single slope wins on upfront cost, wins on construction speed, wins on weather shedding simplicity at the right pitch, and wins on long-term maintenance because there's simply less roof surface and fewer joints to maintain. It's also become the roof of choice for buyers chasing that modern, minimalist Barndo look, and if you go prefab, the waste reduction savings stack on top of everything else. Single slope. The case against, but it loses on hidden square footage. There's no bonus attic or loft waiting inside that roofline. It carries a genuine wind engineering blind spot at that tall exposed edge. And if you go too shallow chasing the lowest possible price, you're inviting drainage problems that can cost you far more than what you saved. Surprising facts most people never hear. Fact 1. The origin story. Here's one most people don't know. The gambrel wasn't invented for looks at all. It became known as the barn-style roof because Dutch-American settlers used it on barns starting in the 1700s, purely to maximize storage space up in the attic loft. Every gambrel Barndo you've ever admired is copying a 300-year-old storage hack. Fact 2. The insurance twist. Here's the fact that genuinely surprised us researching this video. Building a gambrel to full hurricane code standards doesn't automatically earn you a break on your homeowner's insurance. It requires extra hurricane straps, a sealed roof deck, reinforced trusses, and a formal engineering review, all of which add cost, because Florida's wind mitigation credit system specifically rewards hip roof geometry and doesn't extend that same credit to gambrels. If you're building in hurricane country, that's a number worth asking your insurance agent about before you finalize any roof shape. Fact 3. The prefab discount. Here's a genuinely surprising number on the other side of the ledger. If your single slope Barndo comes as a prefab metal building kit, waste reduction alone can meaningfully lower your price. Estimates vary a lot depending on the study, but factory-built prefab construction commonly cuts build waste by somewhere around 30 to 40% compared to a stick-built structure raised on site, And a good chunk of that savings typically gets passed straight on to the buyer. That's real money saved before a single wall goes up. Fact 4. Fasteners matter more than the shape itself, and here's a fact that applies no matter which roof you choose: the screws matter as much as the shape. Cheaper snap-together standing seam panels can work themselves partially open under repeated wind gusting over the years, while a mechanically seamed panel system can resist uplift pressures far beyond anything any residential building code actually requires. Two roofs can look absolutely identical from the driveway and perform completely differently in a storm, purely based on what's holding the metal down, a difference you'd never spot until the day a major storm actually tests it. Fact 5. One consult can save thousands, and here's the fact that could save you the most money of anything in this entire video. Before you lock in either roof style, pay a structural engineer for 1 hour of their time. That $100 consult can easily save you thousands of dollars in rework later, or worse, prevent a sagging roof 10 years down the road. $100 against thousands in potential rework is, frankly, the best deal in this whole video. The verdict: so here's the honest, unglamorous answer. If pure upfront construction cost is your only concern, single slope wins with simpler to frame, faster to build, and cheaper per square foot in almost every scenario. But if you factor in what you're getting for that money: usable loft space that would otherwise require a full second story, plus easier future renovation, the Gambrel can actually be the smarter dollar-for-dollar investment, not just the prettier one. And if you're building anywhere near hurricane country, that decision needs to run through your insurance agent and a structural engineer before it runs through your wallet. The real takeaway: the roof that saves you money isn't the one with the lower price tag on a spec sheet, it's the one that matches your climate, your future plans, and your region's building code. Buying Gambrel square footage you'll never use is wasted money. Skipping Gambrel square footage you'll desperately need in 5 years is a mistake that costs even more to fix later. And building either roof without a wind engineering conversation in the wrong region is the most expensive mistake of all, because that one doesn't just cost money, it costs safety. So now it's your turn. Knowing what you know now about cost, space, weather performance, and even insurance implications, are you team Gambrel for that classic barn silhouette and the bonus loft space, or team single slope for the lower price tag and that clean modern line? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if this saved you from an expensive surprise down the road, hit subscribe. This channel is all about giving you the real numbers behind barndominiums and tiny homes before you break ground, not after. I'll see you in the next one.